Hey YouTube, JGreen302. Social media. I don't even know how to I don't have a name for it yet. I think this one will be just social media until I can come up with a catchphrase that kind of differentiates common sense stuff that I normally talk about with the political stuff. And I'm going to have to come up with something that separates the two. But for the most part, I'm just going to call this social media. I'm going to talk about some things that I've noticed, I've seen, and I've kind of saw a return from. Where am I going with this? Well, I think once or twice I've put out a couple of here's what's going on in the world, pay attention type things. And quietly, and I'm not going to mention any names, but a couple of folks have reached out and started asking me questions. What do you think about this? Or what do you think about that? One that comes to mind is I was recently asked about what do you think the reason for the ammunition shortage and the price increases are? Do you think it's going to come back? Things like that. And initially, I had one idea, and then I found a couple articles that made me question some things. I'm at a gun store almost every week because I do my training there. I'm an instructor there, and I have a very good rapport with not only the owner but the employees. It's almost like friends, and with that access comes. I actually had a conversation. They actually asked me, what do I think of their ammunition pricing that they have out there compared to what's out there? And I had just recently, been scouting out, and I was telling him, well, I said, if I'm online and I'm looking, I could probably get that 223 for, about $10 a box, where you guys are selling it for 14 or 16 or whatever it is. I said, if I can get it in bulk, if I can find it in bulk, I can get it at this. I said, but, for the most part, you guys have to be able to order it. You have to be able to pay for the lights, pay for the employees. It's cost plus something. It's not an issue of, is it comparative? Because right now, if you have it, you might be doing better than the rest of our sources. So, inside information. So it's interesting to be able to talk to one of the suppliers of ammunition and find out, what is their access, what is their availability, how long is the delay when they place an order for, say, 9mm to the time that they get it, things like that. Social media, for me, is a two-part thing. YouTube is generally for technical discussions. How do you work on an RV? How do you build a solar panel system? How do you handle pooping in a shit hits the fan scenario? The practical aspects of living, which reminds me I got to do an RV one. But Facebook is where I generally handle the news, the media, the political aspects, and really pay attention to those aspects. What's been interesting is that a lot of folks from YouTube are now starting to ask me along those same lines, and I don't know what is being said that makes them think, well, let me ask him. But there seems to be some interest in it. So I'm kind of trying to address, and the only way I know how to do this in an explanatory way is I'll give you a couple examples. I have had people who have seen my posts on Facebook quietly following it. And then I've actually had somebody from England want to call me. And I'm like, sure, I'm not afraid of anybody. Let's go. And so he calls me up, and he starts telling me what he's seeing on the streets and the politics going on in the UK. And he is a U.S. citizen, but he's living in the UK for his work right now. And he's filling me in on some things. And it's stuff that I'm not hearing in any news reports or anything. What he's seeing was just absolutely amazing. It was a very, very interesting conversation. How did it happen? Well, it happened because of Facebook and, people quietly watching and finally starting to ask some questions. I've got a friend that's out in Texas. Never met him. Know him through Facebook. We probably talk at least once a week, spend an hour or two chit-chatting back and forth. He actually delivered material to where the Chris, whatever his name was, the sniper, he was right next to them. He actually had been to the range, and he was telling me what was going on the ground. Not what the media was saying, what he was seeing with his own eyes. And I started to realize the value of having connections with folks in different locations, because you never know when the next thing's going to pop up. I've got a friend that I've never met down in Florida. We are back and forth on Facebook almost every day. We share a lot of information because we have similar viewpoints. We talk probably, if not every night, once every 2 nights. We check in and kind of, here's what's going on. Ironically, where was he based out of? Sanford, Florida. He literally was watching the Trayvon Martin stuff on the ground and telling me stuff that you're not hearing in the media, which was valuable. It starts to give you a clue. People from YouTube are getting in touch, telling me about, the things that they're doing, the things that they're concerned about, the things that they're seeing. And the beauty of social media is that they're everywhere. You can have people anywhere in the country. And the more you have these folks and the more conversations you have where people see things a little differently, I'll give a shout out to G-Man, who regularly calls me on some of the stuff that I have to say. Whatever my opinion is of this, he may have a slightly different viewpoint, and he will throw it right back at me. Makes me check what I'm thinking about, makes me, question, okay, well, what's your source of information? Where do you get this from? Here's the way I see it. Here's the facts that I have. Convince me. I learn a lot, not from people who agree with me, but from people who disagree with me. So I kind of enjoy when I find the folks that actually can go, I think this, well, what about this fact, this fact, this fact, and this fact? And then all of a sudden they go, well, crap. If you've seen some of the stuff that's going on out there politically, people are ignoring facts and rolling. They cannot change their belief system once they're set. I'm not interested in these people. I don't care what's going on or what my impression of it is or anything like that. I'm more interested in getting closer to the truth. So when I look at these things, people argue, we counter, we have discussions. I don't want to use the word argue because I don't argue with people. Convince me otherwise. Give me something substantial that will work. Well, so here's a lot of interaction going on, a lot of cross communication, a lot of people out there. The one guy I know down in Florida was like, you know what, I've had it. I've had it with Facebook. I had it with arguing. I've had it with all this other stuff. Without getting into a lot of details, he recently has ran into some problems. The bank's foreclosed on his house, and he's struggling. And I was warning him. I said, if nothing else, you need to at least have internet access to get an idea on what's going on. You don't want to be sitting there in a bubble and find out a Trayvon Martin thing's going on right next door and you have no clue, and then suddenly it shows up at your door. You need to at least be aware when laws are changing or when things, the wind's blowing the wrong way so that you know how to deal. And he was like, well, you know what? To be quite honest, blank Facebook, screw all of it. He says, it's really nice to unplug. He says, I got time to focus on myself. I got time to do this. I got time to do that. And then he said, I stopped by, got something to drink, and I turned and looked at the newspapers, and what I saw was blah, blah, blah. And off he went. And I said, so you're just starving for information, aren't you? And he was like, shit. Got you. So I told him, I said, the value of Facebook is not going and finding some idiot and trying to re-educate him. I said, the value of Facebook, in my opinion, is based on individuals and these stupid devices. Because people can walk around Something happens in front of them, takes a picture, takes a video, posts it to Facebook. The media cannot manipulate things like that. The media, CBS, NBC, Fox, MSNBC, etc., 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 everybody knows they're only going to give you a point of view that they want to put out there, and they all jump on board and they all do pretty much the same thing. And this is the talking points that people have. And then they put it on the TV. And these are the talking points. So if this is all you're given, this is what you're going to talk about. Point in case, the media is pushing Trayvon Martin and the Zimmerman issue. And they've got it jammed into the public society. They brought in Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton. The DOJ, Eric Holder, has decided that he's going to get his nose into this business. And they're constantly flooding you with it. But it's what they're not putting in front of you as a talking point that is the control. They don't want to discuss in the news Benghazi because we don't want to implicate the fact that our president let the guy die. They don't want to talk about the IRS scandal. They don't want to talk about the NSA snooping. They don't want to talk about these scandals. So what they want to do is distract you with things that are trivial. And the simple fact is, both Zimmerman and Trayvon, had they been shot and killed in some other manner, the entire country would be oblivious to their deaths and not care. It's a brutal, hard fact. Nobody would give a shit. If you put them in uniforms and sent them to Afghanistan and they got killed, nobody would give a shit. Nobody would know their names. Nobody would care. Nobody would talk about it. The media is forcing it. And what's amazing is everybody's jumping on board. This is my problem with television and the news, and I don't watch TV. Social media. Social media, they're not buying it. Some of them are biting into it, and that's all they're thinking about. But there's a large group out there that's sitting there going, we know this is a distraction. We really don't care, and we're not going to address it. We still want to know about Benghazi. We want to know about the $4 trillion that you're borrowing this year alone. We're already $17 trillion in debt, and you're borrowing $4 trillion. It's never happened in the history of the United States that anybody has jumped $5 trillion in 1 year and put this country in debt. Why is it on the news? Here's another interesting example. And I just made this other video. Gold. Gold, gold, gold. So what about gold? Well, here's an example again of social media. Well, I've been hearing through the groups that I sit there and talk to, what they do is they go out and they find these news articles that are never making it to the mainstream news, and they're constantly putting, here's what else you're missing, here's what else. Take a look. Not that you have to buy into it, but take a look and be aware. Well, I read tons of articles about gold. Gold became something I started paying attention to about 6 months ago because gold has been going crazy. And there was many articles out there talking about the ETFs, which is paper gold. The fact that the physical gold versus the paper gold, the discrepancy was if everybody came in and said, we're selling our ETFs, they couldn't fill the gold. There's not enough gold. There's more ETFs than there is gold available. And the banks are going to get into a world of hurt when this happens. And the other things that we're talking about was Russia and Mexico and China all buying gold hand over fist, and how the Clinton administration sent a whole bunch of gold in payment to China, and China, not being idiots, drilled the gold, found out there was tungsten cores. So I'm sitting here taking in all this gold stuff. This is about the time I started looking into buying, a couple of gold coins. And so I wanted to do my homework. Social media. Bring it to current yesterday. Well, yesterday on Wall Street, in front of the JP Morgan building, there was 20 fire trucks, several ambulances, and the report from the fire department, or the firemen on the scene, was that there was a gold vault fire at the JP Morgan gold vault, hence all the trucks. The only report was posted with somebody with a phone filming all these trucks and everything right in front of Wall Street. Found this very interesting for a couple points. The Wall Street News, New York Times, NBC, CBS, Fox, CNN, blah, 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 blah. Not a peep. Absolutely nothing. You mean to tell me that you have 20 fire trucks in New York City jamming up Wall Street and there's not a single news report at all in front of all this Wall Street businesses about a gold vault fire? Nobody wants to report on it. Why? How did it get out? How did it get out? Second question. Have you ever seen a gold vault? Most of you, none of us have really. But I remember seeing some very interesting, like PBS or Nova or something like that, where they took you into a gold vault. You know what's in a gold vault? Mind you, gold bars. We're talking. We're not talking silly paper money. We're not talking, anything like that. We're talking billions. Let me explain it to you. It's a concrete room, concrete ceiling, concrete walls, concrete floor. The only thing that's in it is steel racks, very, very heavy steel racks. And on those racks, which there isn't wood, it's metal, is placed gold bars. Stamped, organized, very clean, very surgical. And that's it. There's nothing else in that room except a big-ass steel door, and all the security to even get to that door is ridiculous. So you got concrete, you got paint, you got metal racks, and you've got gold, none of which are flammable. So how can you have a fire in a gold vault? Technically, physically, in every measure that you can dream of, there's nothing in there to burn. So who's bullshitting who? Well, you start going and doing a little homework. Back in April 28th, JP Morgan's gold reserves were down 66%. Suddenly, people were asking for their gold, and they were down 66% in April. And then here it is in July, and magically, guess what? Oh, we had a fire in the gold vault. How did it get out? Social media. Why do I pay attention to social media now? Because generally, some dude sitting there has shown me that the fire trucks were there. Well, you can't have a fire in a gold vault. JP Morgan's in trouble with their gold. And you put all those fire trucks there in front of everybody in Wall Street. It's like a big message to everybody without actually having it in the news. Just tell the people that need to know. It's like a big signal. We weren't supposed to know. We're not supposed to question. The media is not even bothering with it. Why? Because the media gets everything from the AP News. AP News is controlled. The NSA is controlling everything. The government's controlling everything. So what's left for us? Social media. This is where we sit down and somebody blurts out a video or a picture that just destroys their lies. That's why I pay attention. I pay attention to the obscure news, and I start piecing things together. So this is a long, drawn out, now I've given you a couple examples, I've talked about it, but social media is not meant to say, look at the pretty kitties. It's not meant to, you must repost this in 5 seconds or you're an evil person. It's not a doctor sitting there going, if I don't get 1,000 likes, this patient, well, fuck her, she's going to die. It's about getting information out, which could be questionable. If you're an idiot and just suck it all in, you're a moron. But you can start getting news reports that are not available to you any other way, because it's unfiltered. You have to do your own analysis. And I think that's why a lot of people are asking me, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? So my point here is that this is in a lot of ways what makes YouTube and Facebook popular, but it bothers the hell out of the government that they can't regulate and control what we say, what we think, and what we do, and what opinions we share, and what gets popular. For that reason alone, I love it. Even though I know the government is just watching everything that's posted on Facebook, they cannot silence everything. And you start to pick up on things. You start to get a voice of reason. These people that are going crazy over this Trayvon Martin seem to not realize that they went to court. They had their day in court. Justice was served. You just don't like the results. That little fact just pisses everybody off. Well, I'm sorry. Where were the riots with the OJ trial? And so we see this, but it's a distraction. Facebook. I absolutely love it because I'm getting information I can't get anywhere else. I encourage folks to get involved. Join the conversation. Have an intelligent one. If you have an opinion, put it out there. You're going to get attacked. Don't be afraid. Everybody's got a different opinion. But if they can back it up with something that is a reasonable argument, maybe your opinion's wrong. God knows mine's changed 100 times. The ability to change and adjust for the change is what makes you intelligent. If you're a moron, I believe this and I'm not changing for nothing, and reality smacks you in the head and damn near kills you and you still don't believe it, well, you're an idiot. Doesn't matter what PhD you've got. Get out there and join the conversation. Reach out and talk to some people. Make some new friends. Feel free. If I remember, after this long diatribe, I will put my Facebook up. Feel free to get a hold of me. Send me an email. Tell me you think I'm an idiot. I don't care. Your opinion won't hurt me. You might agree with what I say. You might disagree. You might say, well, you got a point, but you missed this. I learn. We learn. The problem is when you don't join the conversation and you don't make some of the stuff about the government, the scandals, the issues that are going on in our world. If you are not engaged, ask the German people and ask the Jewish people and ask the rest of the people in 1942. When they came for the guns, we did nothing. When they came for the Jews, we did nothing. It wasn't affecting me. And then all of a sudden they came for you. And then all of a sudden it's too late to join the conversation. And that, my folks, is what it's all about. Pay attention. Stay bright. Thanks for listening.